Kia ora, New Zealand. Welcome to Sweet Chain Live. My name is Matt Drake. This is episode 136. Hope you're all having a great Thursday evening. I'm joined this evening by Morgan Hartfeld. Good evening, Morgan.
Hey, Matt. Hey, chat. What's up, bro? How you doing today?
Yeah, not bad. Not bad. Still, I'm going a bit loopy, I'll be honest with you. As you may have seen if you tuned into last week's show, I talked about how I'm suffering with a bursitis currently.
Oh yes,
and it's although the pain has subsided and I can now bend my leg far more than I could, it's still not to the point at which I feel confident enough to really kind of put some kind of weight on it. And let me tell you, there is some weight that goes on it.
You're not quite ready to go out for another 10K.
Not quite, no. But it is getting better. But I am definitely going to go and play some disc golf this weekend because you know what? I just feel like I'm going crazy. So I need to go and throw some.
Well, you could always just go and do standstill forehands. Just take it easy. Don't put too much pressure on it. Take your wheelchair around. Take your crutches. Whatever is going to get you around the course.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I actually one of the things that I think would help is not carrying a bag. And actually going to, I'm picking up a cart next month in Topor, which I'm hoping is going to make a huge difference to my back. And
have you locked in a Zuka cart through Hayden?
I have, and
awesome.
So very much looking forward to picking that up in Topor in mid-October, or middle to end of October, I should say. And yes, so very much looking forward to that. It's going to be good fun. Looking forward to, and I've gone for the one with the bigger seat, right? And
good.
That's
good for you.
That's because I want to sit down, right? I want to sit down and turn around. I don't want to be sat on this kind of like pokey little thing.
Yeah.
So I've gone for the one with the biggest, it's the bigger one, so that I've got a larger space to sit.
It'll definitely make a difference for you, for sure. Like, you know, I haven't had the pleasure of owning a cart yet, but I see all the guys that do, and I just see how loose and lax they are after 18 holes, and here's me just puffing my way back to the clubhouse.
It came up in the chat, one of the chat groups that I'm in, which is aptly named Old Farts, and I spoke about it and sought feedback from those who had carts. The subject came up of how many discs do you carry in your bag? Do you know how many discs you've got in your bag, Morgan?
It goes from 17 to 20 in between. Depends what course.
Pretty light. Do you consider?
Yeah, for sure. I've definitely got plenty of space for more discs in my bag. Okay. So I would say, you know, I'll take 17 around the gardens, and I'll use 9.
Yeah,
the rest are just there in case and weight training, you know.
So chat, how many discs have you got in your bag? And if you need to go and count them, go and do that. We did this as part of that exercise. And I got 24.
That's up there.
Which but then right, so 3 of those are putters, putting putters, one of which stays in my bag and never gets used, because it's there if I lose a putter somehow, right? You wouldn't normally lose putting putters, as he's
they all the same putter, all the same weight.
Yep, they're all zero medium, 174, 75 keystones, right?
Yep.
And then I've got a beetle that sits in one of the side pockets. Again, great utility disc. Shawn Michaels 37. That is
what?
37
and it's in the Zuka.
Yeah, and this was one of the points that came up, is that you don't want to get a big cart because then you'll end up taking more discs. And I thought to myself, well, I don't think
you're just leveling the playing field by carrying that many around.
Maybe. And then it came out to mid ranges. I got 2 fuses, 3 trusts, 2 anchors. So that's my mid ranges kind of sorted out. I got a savior, and then a big jump to a couple of rivers. Musket. I won't go through the bag, but you know, it's not.
You might as well finish.
It's fairly kind of yeah. Anyway, that's beside the point. We're getting a little bit off track. But one of the things that people will know about the number of discs you carry and the and buying a car or buying a bag, whichever way you decide to go, is the money that's involved. And cost and money is the theme of today's show. We're going to be talking all about. We're going to try and we'll do our best to we're going to have to sweep through these pretty quick. I just want to get your thoughts, Morgan, and yours, chat, on: are we paying too much for disc golf, and what's a fair price for stuff in disc golf? Now, we're not just limiting this to tournament entries, which seem to be the theme of the some of the comments that were coming through on our social media posts earlier on today. But we're not just limiting this to tournaments. We're looking at this across the board, from equipment hire to cost of playing rounds to cost of scoring rounds. That's something that's come up recently, which we'll talk about. So yeah, but without further ado, let us go and get some hot scores first before we climb up to the top of chat.
I'm just going to start by saying I just want to read this one comment out from Anne Burgess. All the gear. No idea.
Yeah,
love
it. Indeed.
I'm
just going to be in Wellington this weekend, so I look forward to playing with him this weekend. Anyway,
he's a good dude.
Take us through the South.
Absolutely, Matt. It's my pleasure to start off. Excuse me, team. Pleasure to start off, as always, down in the deep south. We're going to go to Queen's Park, and my guy Stephen Reed with a 16 under par after not playing for, I think he said 2 or 3 weeks, finally managed to get out on the course and just slay by the looks of it. We're going to jump into Chingford with Flavio Mayorga, -4. We've got Mr. Wayne Brown with a -4 as well over at Brockville. Going to shoot up into my hometown, the Queenstown Gardens, with Mundo McDisc with a -11 in the Queenstown Gardens. Tucker Beach, we've got Gus Van Giston with a 7 under. I believe he also won the Tucker Beach Trophy for the 3rd time running, 3rd month in a row with that score. Over into Wanaka at Ely Point, Mundo McDisc travelling over the hill to get a 4 down over at Ely. We've got Ryan Cambridge with a 14 under par at Lismore. Huge from Ryan. Ashton Clark at Jelly Park up in Christchurch with a 13 under par. And then we're going to go to Ascot with Sam Lycan, the young fella, -5. Then we've got a man named Malcolm with a -6 at Queen's Park Reserve. And to finish off in Christchurch, we've got Mr. Willie Taratana with a -7 at Brooker Ave. And to finish off the South Island, up at Taylor River, Henry Griffiths with a 1 under par. Nice shooting, team.
Okay, in the capital, starting off in Berhampore on the Hills, it's that man, the myth, the legend. It's Simon Fogarty with a 6 under par. Across the water to Hikoikoi, Ben Morrison hits 5 under par to take out the honours in Paterni. And up at Harcourt Park, up the valley, is Troy Fagan with a +5. Up to the Mighty Manawatu, and it's Ephraim Russell who hits 10 under par at Linklater. And it's Conor McKinstry does enough at Maryland's to hit 3 under and take out the honours this week. Up at Topor Spa Park Red, and it's Caelan Betteridge who hits 2 under par. And up at McLaren's, Josh Pratt hits +2 off the long course. Got a feeling that might come down when the practice round kicks off tomorrow. And then finally up at Henderson, Sam Hitchcock hits 12 under par. So well done to him. Yeah, so we've got McLaren's Extreme coming up this weekend, which kicks off on Saturday, practice round tomorrow. We'll have all of the results of that next week. And we've also, a little bit later on, got our picks of who we think is going to win. And I tell you what, it's pretty tight at the top. 3 of the top 5 players in the country are competing in Tauranga this weekend. So it's going to be a spicy meatball. We shall see who's going to take this one out. Anyway, right, let's get on to our main topic of today. And it's our topic generally is about costs in disc golf, but I really want to start with what kind of triggered this episode to start, or triggered the idea behind this episode. And that was this. Let me see if I can grab this. Now, as you might have seen, which one is it? It's this one.
Which event are you going to, Matt? I'm just bringing it up on my end as well.
It's not the event. What I'm going.
Oh, sorry.
What I've got here is the cost of UDisk Pro. UDisk,
yes.
An application an app that a lot of people use. A lot of people use to score with. A lot of people collect their stats on it and quite enjoy the stats collecting thing of it. they've changed their pricing. So from February of next year, the price of UDisk Pro is going to go up to $30. That's US dollars a year. Now it's currently $15. Excuse me, a year. Okay, so it's gone from $2.50 a month, which is what, $4 New Zealand dollars. That's about that, $4 New Zealand dollars a month. To that's what the new price is going to be. Sorry, from February. So,
have you seen any new benefits from UDisk Pro to sort of, well, not for them to raise the price like this?
Well, not benefits that are linked to the date of the membership change, right? Because UDisk are iterating their product all the time. They're always putting in new things. I really like the some of the newer stuff that's come through in like more recent times, where they've added the your month in review, where you get an email that tells you like how many courses you played and how many rounds you played and how many birdies you got. I quite like that. We share it on our chat groups, and it makes for good reading and triggers discussion. Also, I don't know if you've seen this. I can't really show you, but there's if you've got the app in front of you, actually, you can do this. You can play along at home. If you go to more down the bottom on the bar, and then select one of the players that is in that list. These are players that you've played rounds with. Then it will show you and I'll see. I don't know if Morgan's actually in my list. Probably not, actually, because we've not played too many rounds.
No, the last time we played was Dunedin.
It would have been, yes, and I'm not sure whether that one made it into UDisk. But let's go. Let me go with someone who I play with quite often, and who might be in the chat. One moment. So if you go to more down the bottom and then players, and then you select somebody, what it's going to come up with is something that looks a little bit like this, right? So this shows you and this is Brett Carlisle, who might well be in the chat. He often is. And this shows you your head-to-head with that person. It shows you that I've beaten Brett 14 times. I've tied with him once. I've lost to him 21 times. And then it also gives you a list of all the different rounds that you've played over the years, really. I mean, the oldest round I've got back here is in January 2020. So we're going back in time.
I haven't seen that feature, and I like that a lot. There's going to be a lot of people that do like that for their little local battles that they're having on the daily.
You can go and you can have a look at whoever you like. I'm trying to find someone who there we go. So that's Phil Botter, who will know and love from the NZDSS. I've beaten him 3 times, lost to him 5. And the 2 of the 3 times I've been in Wellington, so I'm not sure that counts, but there you go. Anyway, so little features like that have been coming in and have being introduced to the app kind of all the time. As you said, you didn't even know about it. So I mean,
no, I didn't know about that.
These updates have been coming in all the time, and I don't think that it's that they're necessarily going right. February, new cost, so therefore here's a load of new features. What they are doing is they're slightly changing the way in which their the free membership works. Okay, so if you choose not to extend your UDisk Pro, you'll no longer be able to view your lifetime scores and statistics. However, you can continue to keep score as much as you want, as they've removed the 10 scorecard limit for free accounts. So currently, if you've got a free account or you don't pay for UDisk Pro, you've let it lapse, you can go 10 scorecards and then it kind of cuts you off and says, nah, no more. But now you'll be able to score your rounds. You just won't be able to look at the history. Okay, so it will still get scored, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So, which I think is a good thing. I think that's a good move, honestly. But yeah,
I think it's just a dramatic jump in price, right?
Yeah,
that's what really just stands out like dogs.
It's gone from 15. It's gone from 15 to 30, which is kind of doubling their price, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
One thing I do believe I've seen from them is, and I haven't looked into it yet, but I believe you're going to be able to do event scoring via there now. Whereas beforehand you couldn't. It was only if they had a partnership with the event, and it's usually just the big majors that you ever see that with.
Yeah, that's something that they struggle with, is in the UDisk app is being able to score multiple rounds and have your score carry on or carry forward. That's something that they haven't quite kind of got into the machine quite right. Anyway, question for chat and question for you, Morgan. Are you going to buy it?
Oh, yeah, I will. Yeah. It's just a simple yes for me. I mean, I play multiple rounds a week. I like the app. It is a big price hike, but maybe it was underpriced before. You know what I mean? It's not that I don't agree with what they've done, but it may have been underpriced before, and I like what I get from the app. I like the stats. Not that I use all of them, but I like just to be able to go and be bing, bang, boom. And there's so many things you can do that I don't use. I'm pretty simple with it, but I do like that it counts all your rounds. You can see everywhere you've played around the world. It's keeping my statistics from all the countries, all the courses. I really like that. And right now, apparently, I'm on a 12-week streak of using UDisk, which is the one new thing I have seen this week.
Again, that's a nice little thing to do. That's a kind of gives you a nudge, gives you a reason if you're not as if you don't play as often as you do, to maybe kind of nudge you to get out and play around. So I mean, it's quite a nice thing. Lots of people saying that they I won't pay for the app. Sam will buy it. I do the free one. I'll still buy it. Gotta love having the stat. You do have to love having the stats. And my data analytics team have almost insisted that I get it for next year. Yes, I definitely support the guys. I just support the guys that support disc golf. Absolutely, Brian. Yeah, because it's they're putting I think they're a positive in disc golf, and so as a result, yeah, I think it should be done.
As soon as we finish this podcast, and I'm going straight off, and I'm looking up who I've been spanking for years. I need to see.
And then you're going to message them with screenshots going.
Yeah, all of you. You might as well look forward to it.
This is exactly how much better I am than you. So someone else put, will the free UDisk rounds come through in your stats? I don't know yet.
I was just thinking the same question before when you were talking. I was wondering if someone's paying for it and you're not, if you can see their stats, or if it is limited to the 10.
No, so I use the function of the leaderboard. So if anyone can do it, I just go onto the courses, click on leaderboard, and for the week, and it shows up. Now, currently, I don't think free members appear on those leaderboards. That's not something I think happens. So I suspect that currently it wouldn't appear. Now, will they appear in the future? I don't know. I don't know that answer.
Yeah, if they've had them saved in the database all this time, then they pop up. Yeah. I'm just looking at Matty Rance's comment. I play over 300 rounds a year, so I'll get my money's worth.
Yeah,
that's an incredible amount of disc golf.
Look, that is 300 rounds a year, around a day is pretty solid. Right. So that's scoring. We've decided that we're gonna buy it, but we can notice the price increase. Now, let's get on to equipment. Now, I'm not necessarily talking about collecting discs here, because both you and I collect discs to differing degrees and have different kind of levels of collections and whatever else. Some people are at the far end of that spectrum, and some people aren't. But I think that collecting discs is a bit like collecting anything else, right? It's not really a kind of associated necessarily with the sport. People collect baseballs of famous people and whatever else, and other sports memorabilia. Doesn't mean that they're the cost of getting into the sport. So I'm not talking about discs that you buy secondhand or that are collector's items where you might chuck $300 at it to secure a particularly rare item or a particularly sought after disc. I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about now is the price of discs that are like your stock standard, right? So if you went out and wanted to buy a Star Destroyer, how much is it going to cost you now compared to how much is it going to cost you back in the day?
Well,
do you remember?
For starters, I will just start off by making the blanket statement that we live in the top right or the bottom right pocket of the bloody world pool table.
Totally.
And it costs an arm and a leg to get anything to this country, whether you're buying your own disc from Infinite Discs or all your small planets and your disc shops and your sweet chains are buying in bulk to sell to you, and it's still costing every single person an arm and a leg to get those discs here.
Yeah, and that's
so there's going to be a buffer price on top of whatever the actual retail price of the disc is. That's just how it is.
But we could argue, well, what about the price of the discs over time? Because you'd expect a similar kind of rise of or inflation in disc price. Perhaps you'd expect more inflation where we are than you would in the US to allow for increases in transport costs or whatever, right? But what about increases in the price of other of discs? Now I'm trying to see if I can find like how much. So here's an example, right? Here's an example. And let's see if I can find a suitable example. Now, I think that Sweet Chain Music is not overpriced when it comes to buying plastic, right? We don't sell as much as other people do, but we don't. But I don't think we're the most expensive place in New Zealand, nor do I think that we're probably the cheapest. All right, I try to keep us in that kind of middle to lower. And what I can see here is that the price of a where are we going? Let me see if I can get a comparison.
Why are there no products coming up on this website? See, I'm in a bit of a funny place, Matt, because I have kind of stopped buying discs for throwing. I have done for quite a while. There's a couple, like a glitch and things like that, things that I don't have, but I try to cycle through what I've had in storage for quite a while now, and I do buy the odd disc to prop up my collection habit. But yeah, I've been fortunate enough to be sponsored for a number of years. So, I haven't bought a lot of discs throughout the years to really even know what a good price is. That sounds all funny. How much is a disc? What are you selling a destroyer for now?
Well, okay.
Star Destroyer.
So I'll give you an example. I'm selling a Glow Huia for $28 now. So a Glow Huia will cost you $28. Now, I think the Glow is slightly more expensive. So back in the day when Sweet Chain started, which was in 2021. No, sorry, it was in late 2019, late 2019, so 4 years ago. We were selling the Cosmic range in RPM was $23. Yeah. And now it's like 27, something like that. No, 24.50, right? So there has been a slight increase in those prices. Now I suspect an Innoverse Destroyer now will cost you from Sweet Chain $32.50 if you wanted to buy one. If we have a look at what it was a few years ago, I'm just looking for an Innover Star was 28, right? So that's gone up from 28 to 32.50, an increase of $4. About what's that? 15% increase in that time. I think Rich makes a good point. Only a small difference between New Zealand shops, so just support who you want. Yeah, probably right. And some providers have got different levels of stock and different carry different brands, and some are there on your doorstep and you can feel and hold the discs, and some aren't. So
which makes a big difference.
Yeah, it can do. It can do, right? It can do.
For me, if I can touch a disc, I'll go through the lot and find the one that feels right in my hand, because they do feel different. Slight plastic variations, slight dominess, all of that. But all little lips that aren't on all of them.
But what we're talking about is the price of getting into disc golf, right? So it's the cost of these of plastic. So we have seen a slight increase. Now, I still don't think, though, that the price of discs, especially if you want to get into disc golf, right? So we're talking about maybe a starter set, or maybe you want to go and buy 2 or 3 other discs as well. Even if you were buying a Star Destroyer, which might cost you $30, I don't think that's a high price to pay, honestly.
No.
Also, not that I'd recommend a Star Destroyer for a beginner, but okay, Star.
I mean, an RPM starter pack's what, $50 or less for 3 discs?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that the costs of plastic are pretty reasonable, right? I think that wherever you go, it's probably fairly similar. And if you wanted to buy a Champion Firebird in order to replace the one that was flipping it in your bag, then you're probably going to go and spend $30 on it. I'll give it a second thought. Hopefully, it acts pretty similar to the one that you had previously when it was new.
Yeah.
Now, there are accessories, things like bags. I think disc golf bags are quite pricey, honestly.
They're silly pricey. They really are.
I think when you compare them to
a normal backpack.
Yeah, there are some design features which need to be taken into account, and people will say, "Oh, yeah, but it's got better shoulder support, or it's got padding here, or it's got a drinks water bottle, whatever." I'm not sure that the price of, because some of those big bags, the kind of big disc golf bags you can get. I think that they I think that some of those are like about $300. You can pay upwards of $300 for like what was it? The
US dollars?
No, New Zealand.
New Zealand, yeah. I mean more. I mean, if you're looking at grip bags and that, I mean, they're always on special at the moment. You can always catch a special with one of the events that's going on. But retail price on like a Axe bag from Grip is like $299 US or $279, something like that. It's crazy high.
Yeah.
And I mean, that translates to $500. And again, looking at Squatch. Well, a few of those other brands that are really nice are evading me, but they're the same sort of thing. I've looked to get a new bag a few times, and I always end up going with something slightly cheaper and does the same thing, and I just get another one in a year and a half's time, and I've gone through 2 brand new bags in the same time I've had one.
Yeah. It's so I don't know. I've always thought the bags have been slightly overpriced for what they are. But I mean, they're an essential bit of the kit, right? You got to put them. You can't carry around 20 discs with you from hole to hole. You've got to put them somewhere. So
Calvin Furman might tell you different. My man Calvin will probably carry around 10 discs and 12 beers in a plastic shopping bag.
Then we'll go for it.
It's not a dig, Calvin. I love you, and you won't be watching anyway, but I love you.
Yeah. So stock discs are cheap. Yeah, so we're just going to go through some of the comments here. Stock discs are cheap. Compare them to a squash racket or a tennis racket or a cricket bat. Absolutely. I mean, if you're playing tennis, if you're playing tennis with some of the regularity that some people are playing disc golf, you probably own a tennis racket that's upwards of $200. And then cricket bat.
And the rest.
Yeah. Riley says that you should compare it to a hiking bag rather than a backpack.
I was just thinking that my MacPack hiking bag was about $250, and I've had it for a number of years now. It's still in mint condition, and it has seen some things.
Yeah. So okay, maybe you should, but maybe I would argue that hiking bags need to be able to take a lot more in the way of weathering. And more of a beating than disc golf bags do. I mean, there's a limit, right, to what you'll go hiking in and what you'll play disc golf in, and you'll also, So I don't know. Rich says you can fit 10 discs in a countdown chiller bag. Absolutely can. There we go, and it keeps them cool as well. So,
I'm just looking at the RPM Tahanui bag, 286 excluding GST from RPM. That's a big bag. That carries a lot of plastic.
Yeah, I mean, and So as I mentioned at the start of the show, I'm moving on to a cart a bit later on in October. Now that's going to cost a bit of money, right? It's quite pricey. And I'm going out. I'm getting the putter pocket and the seat cup and the seat cushion and the rainfly and all the rest of the bits and pieces to make it.
Seat heater, yep.
All the rest of it. And but the reason I'm doing that is because it's the only one I'm going to buy ever. Right. So if it breaks within a certain period of time, I'll expect some kind of help from the manufacturer or distributor to make it right. If it's wear and tear in 10 years time, then I'll fix it myself. I'm not going to it's going to be the only one that I buy. Whereas disc golf bags, I'm onto my third disc golf bag now. I think I'm onto my third disc golf. Yeah, my third disc golf bag. So, and I've only been playing since 2018, so 5 years. Free bags in 5 years.
Year and a half-ish each.
I think if a cart, which will cost probably twice what my big bag will cost, can last 10 years, then honestly, so I see that as a better investment, arguably.
2 questions. One, which Zuka cart did you go for? I'm just looking at them here.
The Trekker XG.
The Trekker XG. It's on page 2. Yeah, okay. And what are the bags that you've gone through in that time?
So I started off with a over-the-shoulder. I think it might have been a Dynamic Discs kind of over-the-shoulder pack, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
I then moved on to, I've got it here actually, a Latitude one that looks a bit like this. It's like their medium kind of size bag. And now I carry this one, which is the big red E4, I think it's called, that the Winnow packs resemble quite closely. So it's something which I'm quite looking forward to getting it, so that I'm not carting around a bag, so to speak. Brett Carlisle quite correctly says that Pack and Save, you can fit 11 in a Pack and Save chiller bag. So
who's got Pack and Save bags? Oh, the chiller bag. Yeah, I was thinking of plastic bags.
Brett's got plenty, and if you go and see him, then he'll tell you where you can get some more. Sam was one about 3 bags in tournament. Yeah, they sometimes come with tournament wins, but yeah. So I think what we've kind of narrowed this down to is bags are a little bit overpriced. Discs are probably okay. Software for playing the game, we kind of like the application, so we'll support it. Although the price increase, if they were to do another couple of those kind of increases, you might start going, wait a minute. But
yeah, it might be going back to Disc Caddy at that stage.
Disc Caddy, okay. Right, now, next, let's bring up the price of tournaments. Now, we've spoken a little bit about this in previous episodes, just more in passing than anything else. There's quite a lot of different options on the market for disc golf tournaments, right? So let's just have a quick right. You've got the Tour Down Under events, and I'm looking at the upcoming events on Disc Golf Scene here. So you've got the Tour Down Under events, which are priced at around the $130 mark if you're an amateur. So for nationals, $140 for nationals, $190
nationals are slightly up, yeah.
$190 if you're a pro, and then $160 if you're a pro for Topor. I suspect that like Bottle Lake will be similar to Topor, $170 and $130. And then you compare that with some other tournaments, and I noticed there was. We'll get to the Queenstown Classic in a minute. Fault Line Fury actually came out, and that's $60 for the weekend, and that's 4 rounds at Hardcore Park. Now, there's differences, right? And we must make this very clear that there's that's not the right one. It's this one here. That there's differences in why tournaments cost what they are. Right. Some tournaments are priced very highly, in my opinion. But you'd expect to get a better experience and more bang for your buck out of it.
I think experience is definitely the right word there.
However that might be, right? I guess unless you're in a pro division where really your entry fee is going towards the pro purse, right? That's what it's paying for.
Yep.
A lot of tournaments now are being held on grounds that you need to hire, that you need to pay a greens fee for, or you need to rent from someone. And so you've got to cover the cost of that. And that's not cheap. Sometimes some of these places, you can be paying $5-6 grand for hiring the place out for a weekend. So all of that then,
especially if you're on like a golf course, anywhere that's on a golf course is costing an arm of the league.
Yeah. I've not
especially some of these more central ones, like they've got it in Invercargill, which is there, right in the heart of town. Taking it over from a lot of people.
And well, look at Hagley Park.
And Hagley, of course, Hagley
for Garden City last year.
Yeah.
Whereas in some places where you've got the course already set up, it's all ready to go. Harcourt Park's an example for Fault Line Fury, right? It doesn't cost anything. I think actually it costs. You've got to hire. You're supposed to hire it from Upper Hutt City Council, right?
Yeah, from the council.
And last time I did it for the Women's Global event, it cost me $19, I think, for the week for the day.
Like an admin fee.
Yeah, right. It's nominal. It's nothing. Yeah. You don't even factor. I don't think I even factored into the cost. I think I just took it.
Paid for it.
And so it's you've got some courses like that. Queenstown Gardens is another, where the course is set up, it's there, it's ready to go. Put up a few signs and make sure the public are aware that there's an event going on. So casual play isn't possible, and you're kind of there. I think that's kind of that for me is looking where the kind of difference is being. You're a tournament director. I've got a question for you, and feel free to answer this however you like. This isn't loaded in any way.
No, send it. I'm happy to answer any and all questions.
Should tournament directors make money from their tournaments?
Tournament directors or business owners? I guess it's same.
Cover both.
I think tournament directors should be able to make money from their tournaments. Yes, depending if it's a business or a club.
Okay.
So for clubs, clubs run events, right? So you don't see the president of the Queenstown Disc Golf Club making personal profit from the event. The club run event, it's a not-for-profit organisation. So no, I don't. Businesses like mine,
and presumably any spare money goes back into the club to I don't know.
Yeah, 100%. The Queenstown Club has money to maintain courses that they've generated through events that they run. That's basically their sole way to earn money is through events or donations.
Or fees, which are largely nominal.
Yeah, exactly. Membership fees, which is like $20-25 a year.
Mm-hmm.
So and we don't have a huge membership base down here yet. Working on it, but the money goes back to the club. Businesses, 100%. Tournament directors, business owners should 100% be able to take money if the money's there to be taken.
Yeah.
For us, as an example, Adam and I have never taken 1 cent from our business. It all gets turned back into the business by either propping up the next event, buying things for the event, like we own the 18 baskets, we've got the trailer, so now we can drag the baskets anywhere around that we want to. Pays for fuel. All of those sort of things to go and do all of the little in-between bits and pieces. So just pays for itself. It's just a rolling thing.
And you hope that over the years that, you gather enough steam so that it's, you actually that, once you've got the baskets, you don't need to buy the baskets again. That's already an invested cost. So the next amount of money that you make from something, you can go and invest into something else and
flags. Well, I just think about what we've got: flags, printers, a few hand tools to make jobs easier.
Mm-hmm.
Just all those little things that all add up that you don't have in your personal life. And if you do, you don't want to be breaking your personal things for a business once the business is turning a small profit. No matter how small it is, you want to reinvest it to actually so the business is catering for itself, not out of your pocket.
Yeah. because it's interesting, isn't it? Because it's a question of expenditure versus expectation, I guess, right? Because if you're paying $60 for a tournament, you know, if I was paying $60 for a tournament, I wouldn't expect like a huge players pack. I wouldn't expect to see like prizes all the way down to you know, 10th place or, you know, relatively small division or whatever.
Yeah. Top 3 sort of thing.
Yeah, I'd expect you're talking about a lot more kind of smaller affair. And I think as long as people kind of temper expectations to be in line with cost, then I don't think we've got a problem. And actually, you know, that's just market dynamics at work, because people will buy the product that they feel provides value at a price that they can afford, right? And if the price of a tournament is outside of their affordability, then okay, I'll pick another one. Now, there's a point been made here. The big killer is accommodation and travel to get there, right?
Yep.
And this is absolutely key, right? Because whilst we as disc golfers, the disc golf community has some control over the price of tournaments, right? In the people who set the tournament prices are in the community. What we don't have is a capability
control over everything outside
the prices of accommodation or travel. And this came up in a chat I was in earlier on this week, actually, that suggested that North Islanders travel more than South Islanders, right?
Yeah.
As a very general thing, and that's not a criticism; it's an observation. But I think I know the reason why, having given it some thought about why this
it's location.
It's because I think that it's a lot easier if you think about the places that it's easy to fly into the North Island, right? You've got Wellington and Auckland, pretty much. Now, look at the tournaments that are held in Wellington and Auckland. They're not typically big events, right? So you've got a big one coming up in Auckland. Auckland's capable of hosting some big events. Wellington typically has never really held events that are very large, right? Purely because of size of courses that we've had and like proximity of courses. We don't have 2 courses close to each other. We don't have big sprawling kind of grounds like they do in Christchurch. Lots of flat land. It's not something you find in Wellington, right? Now, when you look at the places in the South Island where it's easy to fly into, Christchurch, Invercargill, Dunedin, Queenstown, you've got all of those things. Yeah,
major airports.
So it's a lot easier to fly into those places. You don't need to. For example, if you want to go to Inglewood, you probably fly into Wellington and then drive to Inglewood.
That's how I did it. I've done it twice. We hired a car, drove down, and the other time we hired a van with about 10 of us in it from the Queenstown Club.
And the chances are you probably don't fly into New Plymouth Airport, which they do have one, but you probably don't fly into it. Just like if you go to Taupo, you probably don't fly into Taupo. You might do. You got more chance of flying into Taupo than you do New Plymouth, but you probably don't. You probably fly into Wellington or Auckland, go up or down. Whereas in the South Island, you don't really have too many tournaments that are very far away from a major airport hub. So perhaps
just the ones I run.
Yeah, maybe the ones you run. Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Which is why you see entries into your tournament are probably 95% plus from the South Island, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And just like South Island Champs coming up, which is in Twizel, is a pain in the ass to get to. The reason I'm not playing in Twizel this year is it's annoying to get to, honestly. You know, I've got to fly to Christchurch, and I live in Wellington, not too far from there. I can be in the airport in half an hour. It's nothing really. I mean, that's quite a long time for New Zealand, right? But you know, relatively speaking, I can get there in half an hour. But then when I get to Christchurch, I've got to sort out a car to get, what is it, from Christchurch to Twizel? 2 hours? 4 hours?
3 hours and 2.5 from Queenstown.
Yeah, so I've got to plan my trip so I land at a time that I can drive 3.5 hours, and that to then get to Twizel in the accommodation, or source accommodation in Christchurch when I land, which is annoying to have to do. So yeah, I think there's I think
Now,
that
I just want to offer up an opinion and a point, really, is do you just travel for the disc golf?
yes.
Sorry, I guess it's a question. Do you just travel for the disc golf?
Most of the time, yes. Yes.
Yeah. So, and what I mean by that is, I mean, not going to do other things like going to see relatives, friends, or whatever. I mean, for me, I'm at a point now, especially where when I'm going on these trips that I go on, and they're mostly South Island based, I'm going to go and I'm going to go to play the disc golf rounds, but then go and enjoy that time with my disc golf family. You know what I mean? All of the friends that you've got. Like I see it as a holiday.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't do as many as I used to. I mean, that's probably mostly based around the amount of time I spend running my own tournaments, but I go to have the full experience of not just the tournament, but going away and hanging out with these people, going out for dinner. It's a nice holiday for me, away from home, away from work, away from some of the BS that can be happening around your life at home. And all I have to think about is, here's my friends, here's some disc golf, here's a beer, here's a nice meal. Mm-hmm. And it's really a holiday. I see it as a holiday. And I don't expect to go on a holiday for $50, you know?
No, that's true. That's true. And I guess if you plan them out, then it works. What I think is going to be a bit tough to kind of swallow for a lot of people is the 4 Tour Down Under events, right? If you want to play on that Tour Down Under and play in all 4 events, that's a lot of money and a lot of accommodation and a lot of travel in a short period of time. Now, if you're here from the start, and we spoke to Henry last week, so I encourage you, if you didn't watch last week's episode, you haven't caught up since, head over to our YouTube channel, give us a subscribe while you're there, and listen to the episode from last week where he talks about what the tour is aimed at, and it was very clear that he was aiming it at. There was a domestic audience, but there was also a overseas pro audience as well, which would have less trouble, I guess, in traveling around, because likely they're going to hire some kind of camper van or juicy or something similar, and so can make those trips relatively easily.
Yeah.
And Riley in the chat's, basically saying that I'm set up with my camper. That's fantastic. And if I was playing disc golf in my 20s when I didn't have a child, or maybe some of the other kind of commitments that you might have in later life, and that's not a complaint at all, then that's a fantastic solution if it works in with you, and you still got to pay the bills, right? It's so I think it's an interesting one. So accommodate. What can people do about accommodation?
It's all location dependent. You know what I mean? You can. So people are talking about tents in people's backyards. Every time we have a tournament in Queenstown, I've probably got 4 or 5 people in my house. Admittedly, it's usually the same people because I have a thing with them where I get to stay at their house every time I go there. So that works out for me. And, just reaching out to your local clubs and asking, is there anyone with a free room? We've all got group chats for our local clubs. And we often have someone going, hey, this person's coming down. Has anyone got a room? Or can this person pick someone up from the airport and bring them to the tournament? It's just as much as reaching out. But then a lot of places, the options aren't there. And I mean, I'm just going to use Ohau as an example, right? Because it is an expensive tournament to come to. And I go back to what I was saying about a holiday. The people that all come there and have done for a number of years, that's what they tell me when they're there. They're like, this is my one thing a year where I go out and I'm just like, I'm having a good time. I'm going to play some disc, but this is a proper holiday for them.
Do people go there do they go days either side?
Yeah, we definitely see more people come the day before, some 2 days before, the real keynotes. People like Riley and that definitely show up a little bit early. and then a few stay the Sunday night, which seems to be getting more popular as hanging out that extra day and driving home Monday, maybe starting work at lunchtime if you live semi-locally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's an interesting one, and really that kind of geography thing really struck me as like, well, yeah, that might be the reason why more people from the North Island travel is because there's fewer places to travel into in the North Island, which seems kind of the backwards way to do it. It's going to be we had a random disc golfer sleeping behind the stage at Harcourt.
I just read that.
Excellent. Well, great for them. I hope it wasn't raining. It's horrible behind the stage at Harcourt, especially if it's wet. Yeah, there's afterpay. Afterpay's fine if that's if that's your thing, and it does spread the cost out. Although if there's 4 tournaments and you're paying it in 4 installments, you're essentially paying a tournament every fortnight, which might be something that's better for people than trying to do it all in one go. So yeah, I think the because you're right. When I'm going to Inglewood, let's take Topor as an example. I'm going to Topor in 2 weeks' time, 3 weeks' time, actually, for the thermal throwdown, and the accommodation cost is something like $380 or something for 3 nights. Plus, it's going to cost me about, what's the fuel cost going to be to get up there and back? Probably about 150 to in the region of 150 to $200 in diesel, I suspect, to get up and back. So that's $500 already. Lunch I get, but I got to buy some meals when I'm there. So it does quickly add up, and that's for a relatively small tournament where I don't have to fly anywhere, right?
Yeah.
It's all I've got is a little kind of hostel with a.
It can be cheaper to fly sometimes as well. I actually find it cheaper for me to go to Christchurch than I do to Wanaka sometimes. Well, you can get a $50 flight each way to Christchurch from Queenstown if you time it right.
Yeah.
Catch some accommodation at a friend's or family's house, and then you play a tournament and come back. Admittedly, it doesn't always work out like that for me, but we spend a few more dollars. But that's by choice.
No, absolutely. So I think on the tournament entry fee, I think what we've agreed on there is actually the cost of tournament sits with the accommodation and travel, which we have very little control over. Although different options should be considered. And Rich makes a good point. They've got a disc golf notice board on Facebook for Topol. Good place to ask him anyone has a spare room. And I'm sure actually that if you get in contact with the tournament directors, if you're worried about accommodation costs and you really want to play, if you get in contact with the tournament directors, likelihood is that the tournament director is a player in inverted commas within their local disc golf community, and also will know people who might be able to help out, and so it's worth getting in contact and trying.
Dills is up in the comments here saying keep an eye out on the Hamner Thermal Throwdown on the 15th of October. Great competition for a single day event. I've not played disc golf there, but I have said it on the show. Hamner is an amazing spot, and if you can get there, go. There's all levels of accommodation. They've got hot pools. You can eat fish and chips. You don't have to go to the Hilton for dinner. Mm-hmm. You can make it a treat trip, especially you Christchurch guys and anyone sort of in that vicinity. Get down there or get up there.
It's Look, but what's good, I think, is seeing so many tournaments that are on. And I used to get a bit worried or be a bit critical of when tournaments overlapped and when there was more than one tournament on each weekend. But actually, I've changed my mind on this now. I mean, I think it's great to have options out there, and although it might mean that people don't travel, actually for the local tournaments, it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
For nationals and for majors, I think that's different. I think they should be treated differently, because the whole point of nationals and of majors is getting together the best players in the country and having them compete on a course that's been designated good enough to be able to discern the best players. And you don't want any of the top players to be hamstrung by costs of not being able to compete, right? So I think for nationals it's slightly different. Now there was a question that came up in the chats actually, and maybe this is one that we'll deal with on a future week, because there's a lot that goes into it. Should you have to qualify for nationals? Right. No, we're not going to answer that today, but it's an interesting one, right? It's a question that came up in the chat earlier on. But look, as far as costs are concerned, I think that, it's the cost of tournaments. You really get what you pay for, right? If you go to a tournament and you don't get what you perceive is value for the amount of money that you've paid, then likelihood is you won't enter next year.
Yeah, that's right.
The likelihood is that actually people will see it and they'll kind of go, this isn't going to work. So look, I think I think that will probably be the way in which it goes, but it's going to take some time for us to see that, because we've only really kind of seen, in my view, the kind of start of a cost increase, and it's when those costs increase that people will then start looking at that will start looking around if the events aren't up to scratch.
Have you looked at the cost of the top events in the States before?
No, I haven't. No. How do they compare?
Oh, it's hundreds of dollars. I think, I'll just go to the Japan Open entry was like 480 New Zealand.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yep.
And then, excuse me, I played one tournament in the States, and I think it was about 100 US, and it was just a standard 2-day event. So, still looking like 180 bucks.
An A tier?
C tier.
C tier. Okay.
Yeah. Just trying to think back, the best thing they did was feed us. They fed us like kings.
Yeah. The impression I get in the States, especially when I've seen people's socials, people like Amy, who went away more recently and she won heaps of tournaments, but she came back with a whole bunch of swag. For her money. Now, she probably paid more than what she'd pay in New Zealand for an equivalent kind of scaled tournament. However, came back with a bucket load of stuff.
So here's the thing. Here's another thing that people probably don't understand, may just not have come across before. Sponsorships from major brands will do, and I've not had Innova as one of my sponsors, so I'll use them as an example. To get a sponsorship from Innova, you're still paying for it. In most cases, not all cases, in most cases, you're paying them to sponsor you. It's just at a much cheaper rate than what you'd be paying retail for the product.
Yeah.
So that's where a lot of that cost can go when you've got a major sponsor on board for these events.
Yeah. Yeah, because you still go and buy the plastic off them, right?
They're
not. If you see an event sponsored by Latitude and you get a bunch of you get a disc in your players pack, the tournament directors bought that disc. It's probably not been gifted.
Yeah, most of the time that's how it goes. I mean, sometimes you do come across the ones where they do want to sponsor and help grow, but most of the time you're paying for it.
Likelihood is that they've been bought at cost, not at cost. They've been bought at wholesale or perhaps even slightly cheaper than a wholesale price.
Yeah,
right? They might have a special tournament rate, but the likelihood is that they've still shelled out for whatever was in the players packs, which is makes me think back to, what was it, the Smash last year, which had the players packs for that was fantastic. A couple of discs, a hat, a bag, brilliant. I thought that was fantastic, and that's on top of a really kind of well-run event. So,
and every single cent they made from that tournament, plus the thousands of dollars they got given from ILT, all went back into the tournament, plus more money out of their bank account for the club. They're really putting it all out there to help grow the sport and make that event what it is.
It's certainly one of the ones you want to go to. It'll be really interesting to see how the how I think this summer's events play out, especially when we've got it's set against the backdrop of last summer's majors to compare against. I think this summer's.
I think they set a pretty high bar in terms of player numbers last year for a few of those events. I think three or four of those events had super high numbers. I don't see that again. I don't see that again for a couple of years until we've got more people.
Also, should that be the goal for majors and nationals? I'm not sure.
No, I mean, as you were saying before, the goal is to have the best players playing the best players.
So should you have to qualify for nationals? Maybe a question will come up in another time. There's not many other sports where anyone can enter the nationals, right? Or the top event in.
Let's be honest, that's been solely based around the number of players that have been in the country since we've had the sport here.
Yeah, absolutely right. If you had 2,000 people wanting to sign up, you'd have to qualify to get into nationals.
Yeah, 100%.
But, that's different. Anyway, right, let's move on and look towards this weekend, which is the Tauranga Extreme. And let's have a look at who we think is going to do well. Morgan, I've got the entry list up in front of me. As we were saying earlier on, where do we want to go? Here. We've got the 3 of the 5 top-ranked players in New Zealand playing in this event. In Jackson Sullivan, who's ranked 3rd, Joseph Berry ranked 4th, Simon Feasey ranked 5th, and then Mark Dakiv and Nicholas Golden are just behind. Josh Love Parrott, who will also be a force, I suspect. But Morgan, give us your top 3. Who is the podium for you in MPO?
Jacko's taken this one down.
Wow.
Yeah, okay. I take that from experience of watching him play that course and just destroy it. Excuse me, I need to sneeze. Excuse me.
So are you calling the top 3 as you see it there? Jackson, Joe, Simon?
No, I'm not. I think Jackson. Then I think Joe's going to be about 3 strokes back. He has been. I've seen some scores from him up there. He's been killing it as well when he does get over those ways. I kind of want to pull some sort of outsider card in, but I just don't know if he's been playing much. And that's someone like a Jimmy Tui Tufu, who I've also seen destroy that course.
Yeah. He's appeared on our hard scores more than once.
Yeah. But, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to put Simon out, but Mark Dakiv he's a beast as well. So I don't know. I'm just going to go with the outsider and say Jimmy, the 3rd.
Okay, excellent. We'll get on to who the data analytics team are picking in a minute. Over into MA1, Paris Holstead's been playing well recently.
Mm-hmm.
Luke Hempel and Johnny Wake has been putting together some good rounds in MA1. It's going to be difficult to look past those, but it's going to be incredibly tight in this division, I suspect. This one's got...
I think Foley might pull something out. Are you in the chat, Mike?
But he might be in the chat. He sometimes is.
Are you in the chat, Mike? I think you're going to pull something out here.
He plays... He obviously has got experience, more experience than others around this course, perhaps. And so, it's absolutely. I wouldn't be surprised at all. At all.
Can't give a top 3, but I think he might do something special this weekend.
Over to the ladies. Is Charlotte going to edge out Paula?
Yes. I don't even think it'll be edge out, and it's no disrespect to Paula. I think Charlotte's just been playing really, really well of recent, and I think she's going to have a pretty commanding lead at the end of it.
Mm-hmm. Over into MA40, the best division. This is going to be a battle of a disc shot battle, isn't it, between Ryan Kitto and Hayden Shaw? Are we going to see these?
I don't know. Like I'm a true firm believer in TD ratings and TD competition, and it just completely throws you off when you're running the event and playing. So I don't think Hayden's going to be at the top, although he has shown that he can run an event and smash it. But let's go with Ryan. I mean, I'm taking the top one, but I love Ryan. Let's go, brother.
Excellent. There's an MA2 division that's 30 big.
Wow.
Which is just crazy, isn't it? And a lot of what I'm noticing here, what jumps out at me from this list is a number of propagators, right? Which means that you've played more than 8 PGA rounds. So fantastic to see, honestly. So full up. This sold out in minutes. This tournament. So be interesting to see who takes it out. Now, let's go across to the upcoming events and see the data analytics team picks for this weekend. Firstly, is the Tauranga Extreme this weekend is sold out. It's an NZDG event. You got the Pohoi Breeze in 2 weeks' time, which is into Pohoi, which is about 45 minutes west of Napier. near Bayview. Hand and Hot rounds on the same day. And then it's to the Topor Thermal Throwdown. Looking forward to this one. It's the first event of this summer for me. And I've not played Topor despite trying to many times. I'm very much looking forward to coming up and playing this. If you're in the South Island, you might want to go to Waimate for the Spring Sling instead on the 21st, 22nd of October. Auckland Disc Golf Champs week after that is sold out. The Rapper Rumble in Masterton is also sold out. First week of November, love Henley Lake, so it's going to be good. I'm going to try and get over there before that tournament starts. Then it's Twizel weekend after that for South Island Champs, first major of the summer. And then Bros for Change the weekend after that. Wahitapu and Faultline Fury the weekend after that, final week of November. And then Temuka Tussle is the first weekend of December. Flipping over to 2024, Egg Monster North Island Champs kicks us off first weekend of January. Then it's a Roxburgh Open. Southern Smash follows pretty soon, and then it's look at this. Look at you've got 7 weekends on the bounce of major tournaments and events, right? North Island Champs, Roxburgh Open, Southern Smash, Topor Classic, New Zealand Nationals, Bottle Lake Open, Paradise Plates, and a sprinkling of other events in there as well if you can't get to any of those. So some huge tournaments coming up. And if you enjoy following disc golf from simply a stats and events and who's doing well perspective, there's going to be heaps of movement in those 7 weeks, I tell you.
And then Montana Flat. At the end of that list,
coming in at the second weekend of April, yeah. So
we're going. That's another one of my one. We're taking that on the other end of the spectrum, Matt. This is going to be an unsanctioned festival-style weekend of disc golf. You'll probably going to try and do 3 or 4 rounds. One will be a normal round, and there's going to be all sorts of craziness mixed in.
So I don't know. Is there going to be? Are we going to see more of these events? Faultline has not gone PDGA this year. Montana Flats not PDGA this year. Are we going to see many more events kind of go back old school?
I hope so.
Kind of like just.
I hope so. So I think we have a lot of local events, but I think we're going to start seeing a few more pop up. They're going to get populated by those people that don't want to or can't afford to come to the major events, you know. As we were sort of saying before, it's a choice to go to these big events, and when we can sort of put on offer these other events sort of more localized, that could be your jam. But I mean, yeah, man, it'd be cool to see some more stuff like this. This Montana Flat's just going to be so fun. It's DJs, bonfires, everything, barbecue, just everything fun.
Superb. Right, now on to the odds of the extreme. So they are on the screen in front of you. Jackson Sullivan is 3.3 to take out the win, narrowly over a 3.4 priced Joe Berry. Simon Feasey is at 5.1. Mark Dakiv is 10, and Connor Yardley is at 15 and bar. So it's going to be pretty tight at the top. The data analytics team think, but they see Jackson Sullivan just scraping through over Joe Berry, and both of them finishing ahead of Simon Feasey. So it's going to be an interesting one. We talked how the top 3 were involved this week. As you can see, Jackson Sullivan is in 3rd, Joe Berry in 4th, Simon Feasey in 5th, and then you've got Mark Dakiv in 15th, who's also in the field as well. And it's pronounced Topohui. Thank you, Anthony. I
was waiting for you to read that. I wasn't going to be the one.
My pronunciation is perhaps not what it.
Thanks, Anthony.
Lovely stuff. Right. So look, we've hopefully today's kicked off a few thoughts or a few discussions, and if you if you've got anything that is really kind of pressing or that you feel you want to share, then please chuck it in the comments. If you liked what we talked about today, or you like the show, please hit the like button. What it means is it makes the YouTube algorithm more searchable for people who may not find the show quite as easy as you have. If you want to subscribe, then please do. If you're playing in the Extreme this weekend, then very best of luck to you. But wherever you're playing disc golf, take it easy, play well, get some birdies, and we'll see you